following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of CATV2, Oshkosh Community Media Services, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. Cheryl Hentz here, and I'm very pleased to welcome to the show tonight two folks who have never been here before, but I'm hoping that they will grant us the privilege and the honor of coming back again in the future. To my left is Jay Barrientes, and Jay is the Resource and Development Coordinator at Habitat for Humanity Oshkosh. And seated on my other side, on my right, is Meg Gross, and she's the Volunteer Coordinator for Habitat for Humanity Oshkosh. And so we're very, very pleased to welcome you guys to the show, and we're going to be talking all about your organization tonight and what it does, who it serves, how people can get involved, and that whole thing. So let's start with the very first thing, I guess. What is Habitat for Humanity, and what's its mission? What do you guys do?
You know, that is a great question. There is a ton of myths and preconceptions about what Habitat is, what Habitat does. You know, the most common one is everybody's like, you give homes away for free. And we're like, no, that's not what
Hardly.
we do. You know, Habitat's mission is, you know, our mission statement says, seeking to put God's love into action. Habitat for Humanity builds homes, brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. So at the end of the day, we build affordable housing for low to moderate income families in the community. All of our families, you know, they have to partner with us. It's a true partnership from day one all the way through completion. So we provide 0% interest loans, but in exchange for that, they have to put all of our families have to put in a lot of volunteer hours. They have to
Sweat equity, I think
sweat
it's called,
equity,
isn't it?
exactly. Yeah, we put in. I mean, it's a partnership from day one, you know, and it's a large commitment it's 250 hours per adult in the family. So
wow.
You have a full-time job, 40 hours a week. You have little ones running around. You have to get to soccer practice and baseball and all this stuff, and then you have to go help build your own home on top of all that. So it's a large commitment. So, you know, at the end of the day, our business is creating hope in families' lives, and so we've been doing that in Oshkosh since 1989.
Okay.
And have been going strong since. We've built 27 homes in our community. Let's see here. 2 of those homes were rehab homes.
Okay.
Where we did complete gut and remodels, and one of them is actually coming to a close here pretty quick, which is pretty cool. We might talk about that later. So.
Sure. Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about it right now so we don't forget?
Yeah. Sure.
I'm getting old, Jay. I mean, you know, my memory isn't quite the same as it used to be.
Yeah. This. You know, the rehab home we have going on right now started this last spring. It was a home we acquired through a program from Chase Bank, and we went in, gutted it all the way down to the framing, got rid of everything and rebuilt it. And it's I was out there 2 days ago, and wow, beautiful. I'm super excited to see it finished. So that home is actually completing on October 25th is when we're going to have the home dedication ceremony, 10 a.m. I believe.
Okay.
And so everyone, the community members get to stop by, tour the home, take a look at it, meet the partner family. That's probably the coolest part about everything.
Sure.
Is meeting the family. So.
Yeah, and we're taping this on the 9th of October, so just a couple short weeks away.
Yeah.
Before that's finished up. And I know, I want to talk about this before I, forget it also. A few weeks back, you guys did a tour It started in the Menominee Park area. Talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get back to some of my other questions that I had prepped for tonight.
Absolutely. You know, that is a great question. That was a fun event. That was our interfaith journey. You know, Habitat for Humanity was founded on Christian principles. Back in 1976, Linda and Millard Fuller sold their business down in Georgia and went to go live on a community-based, Christian-based farming community where community members came together and said, okay, almost the concept of the, you know, the butcher, the baker, and they came together. Somebody needed a home, we all came together and built a home. Somebody needed help with this, they all came together and helped. And Linda and Millard loved that concept and said, I think we can take this and just grow this, but purely on housing, because we know housing is such a key part of community everywhere. And so in '76, they founded Habitat for Humanity. It spread from Americus, Georgia, up to Atlanta and throughout the South. And fast forward to today, we have 1,500 Habitat offices around the country. In Wisconsin alone, we have 44 Habitat offices, and we work in 70 countries around the world. We're the 13th most recognizable brand in the world, the 16th largest home builder in the nation, and you know, everything is, every 60 seconds, as a result of the work that Habitat does around the world, we're impacting a family's life through housing.
Well, speaking of throughout the world, how are you then tied in with Habitat International, or are you? Is there a connection there?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. We're affiliated with the international organization, and we still tithe to our international organization. So if a community member is a part of the local Habitat, donates to the local Habitat, a portion of what all the proceeds that we raise locally, we tithe to an international Habitat. So in addition to the families we've impacted here in Oshkosh, we've also impacted, I think, just over 30 more families internationally. So, you know, coming full circle, you know, is those Christian principles that we were founded on, and that's where the interfaith journey started, is saying that, you know, we work in all these great communities across the country, and our communities are growing more and more diverse every day. And Habitat's mission has always said we're going to work with the community, never for a community. And recognizing that our communities are more diverse, we have to embrace that diversity, because you know, how we can't grow as an organization if we don't.
Right.
And so that's where the interfaith journey started. We were one of 8 habitats selected around the country to participate in this interfaith initiative. And this is an initiative that International is embracing and looking to spread across the nation. So it's super. It was really exciting. We had a great turnout. The weather was a little cold.
It's been a little chilly very early on this year.
It was, you know, it was September. It shouldn't be that cold in September.
No, I agree. One thing I want to touch on that you just mentioned, that you were founded on Christian principles. Now, I don't want to answer this call either. Sorry. I don't want to get you know, politically correct here and politically bogged down, but you did say Christian principles, and not everyone's a Christian.
Yep.
Some people are atheists, some are Muslim, some are you know, Jewish, and so forth. Do you only help out those who are Christians, or when you say Christian, you're speaking more in a total ecumenical, complete interfaith sense?
Absolutely. We're very much ecumenical.
I just wanted to make sure. So someone out there who's watching this says, well, I'm not a Christian, they can't help me.
No, that's a great question. You know, and I think our CEO, Jonathan Reckford, said it best at the launch of our interfaith initiative when he said, the closer we get to our Christian principles, the more inclusive of everyone we become, regardless of faith. And so we're an ecumenical Christian organization, but you know, that definitely does not exclude anybody.
Okay.
So.
And the other question that I had, Jay, is, you know, we're talking about Oshkosh here. This show also goes up on YouTube, and so potentially there could be someone from another state, potentially another country watching. Is Habitat kind of the same? Does it operate on the same principles, in the same way? you have the same requirements or non-requirements for volunteers, that kind of thing, from state to state, municipality to municipality, or how does that work?
You know, that is actually a very good question as well. We do operate as independent franchises.
Okay.
We're affiliated with the international organization, so you know we have our guidelines and principles and kind of the foundation that we have to operate within. But from outside of that, there are some governance and some kind of operational stuff that is up to the individual affiliates to do. So
Okay.
for the most part, we're pretty cookie cutter. Our
Right.
homes may look different in one part of the country than they do here.
Yeah, and that
you
stands
know.
to reason. They'd almost have to. Yeah.
So, you know, there's a few things that look different, of
Sure.
course, and there's a couple of different approaches. But for the most part, at the roots of it, we're pretty much the same.
Okay. So I guess the best advice to folks, if you are watching this from someplace other than Oshkosh, Wisconsin, you know, check with the Habitat for Humanity in your own community and find out, you know, what they do, how they do it, and how you can get involved. So now that I've made my pitch for Habitat everywhere,
Thank you.
so you started here in, I want to make sure I'm reading this right, 1989. How did you get your start? I mean, what prompted it? You know, who saw the need for it in Oshkosh?
It's an interesting story, actually, and it's one that I really like to tell. And now that I've learned that you attend First Congregational.
Yes.
And when, of course, Ralph and Carol are the leaders at with that congregation, and it was Ralph and Carol that actually were a couple of people that helped spearhead Habitat for Humanity here in Oshkosh.
Is that right?
I'm
I did not
lying to
know
you.
that.
I am not.
Well, I would hope you wouldn't lie to me.
No. Well, no.
Just me.
All right,
no.
You gotta go. You got.
Thanks for coming, Meg. And you know, Ralph and Carol went to the Jimmy Carter Work Project in Milwaukee back in, I think it was 85, 86. And they went down there and they had so much fun. Jimmy and Rosalind Carter have been great supporters of
Sure.
Habitat since their presidency, and they still continue to be. And so the Carter Work Projects are these big, massive undertakings. It's a week long of activity, and we impact tons of families, and it's great. And so Ralph and Carol were like, we're going to go to Milwaukee, we're going to help out. And they come back and we're like, they had the idea, like, boy, Oshkosh could use Habitat for Humanity. So a group of local clergy got together and they founded our board of directors, and Linda Millard came in and held some meetings, and some other people came in and held some meetings, and in November of 1989, our Articles of Incorporation were granted, and in 1990 we built our first home, and off we went.
You know, I just had another thought here, and I jotted it down as you were talking. Have you seen, well, maybe this is a question for you, Meg, because you're the volunteer coordinator. Have you seen, and I realize that you're fairly new with the organization, but have you or either one of you seen an increase in volunteer interest since people have started becoming more interested in DIY projects, you know, do it yourself? Everybody seems to be watching the DIY network and HGTV, which I happen to love. And, you know, you want to get in there and smash stuff, you know? So the total rebuilds sound great from that standpoint. Have you seen people become more interested since this is becoming more interesting to people?
I believe so. Well, my story is I was between jobs, and I wasn't sure what to do. I wanted to take some time just to think about what I want to do, but I didn't want to sit around the house and do nothing. So one day I was at the Restore, and I thought, well, this looks like a nice place that I might want to volunteer. So I asked for an application, and I started volunteering, and I loved, because I started out as a cashier, I love to hear the people's stories of what they do with what they buy. So even like me, I was a customer and I became a volunteer, and I believe just by putting forth, just being friendly and I don't know what I'm trying to say, but but you know, I think people will volunteer seeing that.
Sure.
You know?
Being friendly and having a sincere interest
Right.
in people's stories.
Exactly.
And what they have to say and share. And their sharing might give other people ideas too. I know we're going to talk about the Restore a little bit later on, but what are some of the projects that you're working on right now that you'd like to talk about?
You know, like I mentioned before, 738 Oak Street,
Yep.
that rehab home. We're making the final push. It's going to be really nice to see that one. See the family move in there. They've been extremely patient as we've had to go through and be like, well, we have to fix this now because we ripped open a wall and look what we found. And so they've been very gracious and very patient. And they're but you know, as they say, patience is a virtue and usually pays off. So
Yeah, sure.
In construction, that's the way it is. Usually.
sometimes it is, yeah. The big one, the next big one is our project on Algoma Boulevard, and so if anybody travels down Algoma from the Payne to Murdoch, it's just, you know, I wish I knew the traffic count there. I should just stand there for fun one day because it's incredible the amount of cars that drive past. People have probably seen the activity going on. This random lot appears out of nowhere. All these trees disappear because it was just this. We've owned this lot for a number of years. We're never sure when we were going to build on it, and we had the right family that wanted to be there, and finally we're building on it. And so the basement's in, we're going to get started swinging hammers and shooting nail guns here before you know it. So
Now, is that the blueprints that you have there?
this actually is, yes, these are the blueprints for the Algoma project.
Okay. They're light. I'm not sure how close we can zoom in on that, but if you want to kind of hold that up, and don't worry about this. And maybe Nick can zoom in on that so that we're not...
Yeah, it's a nice home. It's going to be a single. It's just going to be
zoom in tighter if you can, Nick.
it's going to be a ranch style
So that
home.
we get rid of some of that glare and really... Okay, go ahead, Jay.
It's going to be a ranch style home. It is going to have 2 bedrooms on the first floor, 2 bedrooms in the basement. But given the neighborhood, we wanted to keep it as a ranch style home. So we're going to bring in some of the architectural features from the surrounding homes with using the cedar shake impression siding.
Sure.
You know, and we'll do a different color to, you know, kind of give it some pop. You know, these are going to be nice white columns off the front porch that are going to, you know, really just help give a little bit of extra pop on the front of the home as well. So it's going to be a partially exposed basement on the home, just because of the way the lot lies. So we're really looking forward to working on this home. This is a home that's been long in the making. We have a great partnership with some of our home sponsors on it, and we're just excited to see it go.
Okay.
So
And that's the one on Algoma?
Algoma Boulevard, yep.
Okay. All right. And I think we have a picture also of the one on Oak Street that you're finishing up.
Yeah.
That's at 738 Oak, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, I think we've got a few pictures from there. We've got a rugby team who was volunteering over there.
It's the Oshkosh Rugby Club. They came out and had a ton of fun.
I don't know if we can get those up from 738 Oak, but if you've got access to them fairly quickly, maybe we can take a look at those now. So the rugby team came in and they wanted to help out?
Yeah, you know, they reached out to us and they said, you know, we're tough guys and I think we can swing some hammers and get some work done. And we said, we love the challenge.
And there they are.
There they are. And they came out, yeah, they put a lot of siding up on the house that day. And, you know, they were a fun group.
Sure.
They really came out and were just they were good guys.
Sure. And
So-
we've got a couple others from Oak Street from that project. One, let's see here, is these rebuilding the interior. That was one that was going on, and I don't know if there we go.
Oh, gotcha. I don't know exactly who that is. We've had just some incredible groups that came out, everything from Wells Fargo to U.S. Bank and the Bemis Group, and Oshkosh Corp has been an incredible partner. From the volunteer standpoint this year on that on the Oak Street project.
Okay. We've got another one where volunteers are adding insulation. And there they are.
On the outside, yep.
What has, you mentioned about Oshkosh Corp, what have they done for you as far as partnering?
I bet right now. I bet you if we were keeping score, and we never keep score on who's who's the biggest volunteer, or who's what company's the best volunteer, or biggest whatever. But I would, if I had to venture, and just if I'm not a betting man, but I'd say Oshkosh Corp probably has the award for the most volunteer hours on Habitat this year.
So they send employees over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. There's corporate philanthropy is becoming and corporate responsibility is becoming such a fabric in so many organizations in today's day and age that a lot of employers are paying their employees to go out and volunteer.
Wow.
They're making it a requirement. If you're going to work with us, we're going to pay you 8 hours to go out and volunteer somewhere.
Well, they want people to be invested in their community.
Exactly.
And make a contribution to the community.
Exactly.
And kind of pay it forward, if you will.
Right.
Do you ever have so many volunteers that you have to turn people away, or would you ever turn anyone away, no matter how many volunteers you have?
I think so. There's always work to be done,
Okay.
especially, I mean, it doesn't
From
matter.
your side at the
Yes.
Restore, you guys,
We especially need help on weekends and evenings. It's easy because in the daytime, because we get a lot of people who are retired, but we're trying to get more weekends and evenings, and that we're trying to go for the younger crowd with them because they usually have that ability to come at those times.
Okay. Now, what about working on projects? Are you the volunteer coordinator for that too, or is there someone else who does that?
Well, there's another person at our office who does more of the build site type
Okay.
things, but we work together closely.
Okay.
So, we collaborate with each other, and
Sure.
a lot of people will actually volunteer at both places. So I just redid our volunteer registration sheet, and I just combined both the Habitat Restore and the build site because there are so many people that want to do both.
Sure. Well, I can imagine that it's a nice project to be involved in. And the thing is, when you're a volunteer with an organization, you are paying it forward and giving
Absolutely.
something back to your community. You're helping out someone who has a need. And, there's usually not a requirement to work a tremendous amount of hours. I mean, it might be, in some places in the community, it might be 10 hours a week or 10 hours a month or, something like that. And I think we've all got, if we think about it, an extra 5 to 10 hours a month. How much do people spend sitting on their computers playing video games or on their phones, doing this?
Yep.
And I think if you really look at it, there's time that could be found
Absolutely.
to help make
Yeah.
a contribution to make someone else's life better.
Yeah.
As long as we're on the subject of volunteering, in particular on the build projects, do people need experience with any kind of construction?
That is, again, I mentioned when at the onset we talked about the myths of Habitat, and a lot of people do assume that, boy, I can't volunteer. I have never lifted a hammer in my life. I don't even know how to use a screwdriver. I'm like, that's great.
What is a saw? What does
Yeah.
it look like?
Exactly. And before my role as development director, resource development director, I was the construction manager for Habitat. So
Okay.
I started with Habitat. Started my full-time gig with Habitat as a construction manager
Sure.
and built nearly 7 homes for Habitat over the course of time. So I've always told my volunteers, look, I said, give me a volunteer who's willing versus capable. Because capabilities I can teach, willingness I can't. And I'll take an army of people that are unskilled but willing to make a difference, because we'll go out and make a bigger impact than a small group of people who are just capable.
Sure.
And so, in my time as construction manager, I think vast majority of the groups have all been female groups that
Really?
it'd be
Now that's kind of surprising to me. I would think that it would be mostly men. I kind of, when I think about it, I think, okay, it's probably 75% men who have experience and want to just swing a few more hammers or whatever, and maybe 25% women who either have some experience or want to gain some. So that's kind of surprising that it's more women volunteers than men.
It's a bit opposite what you would think, because
Yeah.
you have again, touching on that DIY, you have a lot of female population that do want to come out and learn how to use some tools because they have a project in mind. And then the men that we do get are usually a lot of unskilled guys that don't have a whole lot of experience. And so what you find is the guys that have experience, they're already at home, doing the honey-do list, and,
Or looking at it anyway.
or thinking about that new deer stand or something like that. I mean, so they're already doing stuff.
Right.
We do get, once in a while when you get someone who has experience that comes over, it'll be like, you and I, we're going to talk. Come here,
Yeah.
And so what do I have to do to get you to come back? But most of the groups, as predominantly with female-based groups, but if you can just explain, how to do something and tell, everybody has the capability inside of them to do any sort of task, and with some good leadership on site, and this goes for both the job site and the restore, with good leadership, it's amazing what you can get done with people regardless of skill level. So
Sure.
And then they go away with those skills too.
Sure. And they can do
Do
their
it
own
all.
honey-do list.
Right on.
Exactly.
They don't have to wait for their honey to do it. I want to say something about the DIY thing and not having skills. Years ago, I don't know if either one of you are from here originally, but years ago, down at Menominee Park, the whole community, that's a community build playground.
Yep.
And, I've got basic skills, but we're talking really basic. I do know what a saw is, though. And so I participated in that. And you've got professionals who know exactly what they're doing. They make sure that the project is done right and up to code, and that everything is structurally sound. So people don't have to worry about something, being built like a house of cards that could cave in at any time.
Yep.
Because that's probably another myth that people wonder about, Not that the house is truly going to fall apart, but, is it going to be up to code and that kind of thing?
Yep.
And everything is, right?
Always.
Okay. And so you've got people who are overseeing you. And I have to say, from taking part, and I couldn't do a lot that day, I think I was there for a couple of hours, but I have to say it was one of the most rewarding experiences up to that point in my life, because I'd never attempted building anything that was going to be around forever,
Yep.
Or at least we hope it'll be there forever, that other people were going to use. And it just gave me a warm feeling
Yeah.
that, hey, I'm making a contribution to my community here and to the children and the parents of those children who are going to use this. And it was wonderful. And so I would encourage anyone out there who feels like they want to do something like that, give them a call and get involved somehow, because I think you'll be surprised at how great it makes you feel. Some of the other things that you guys are involved in, I know in some notes that were sent to me, and I want to ask you about these. Vista, Fox Valley Technical College, and UW Oshkosh internships. Talk a little bit about that, Jay.
Those are all three separate programs, but all great programs, separate from one another, and all come together to make Habitat better. So,
Sure.
The VISTA program, first and foremost, is VISTA is an acronym that stands for Volunteers in Service to America. It's a program that resides underneath the AmeriCorps program. So, most people are familiar with the Peace Corps. The AmeriCorps is same as the Peace Corps, but just internally. We don't go internationally. We stay inside the nation, and they're a group of individuals that go around and work at different service organizations. And so the VISTA program resides underneath the AmeriCorps program, and it's truly that, Volunteers in Service to America. It was founded underneath the Kennedy organization, and they are individuals that agree to a year of service with usually a nonprofit. But the catch is it was set up that if you're going to serve those that live in poverty, you yourself must understand what it's like to live in poverty. So the living stipend that a VISTA member receives over the course of a year is for a single person is right at the federal poverty line, which is just south of $12,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so these the VISTA members, it's a sacrifice for a year of their life, and saying I'm going to live on $12,000 a year. I have to figure out how I'm going to feed myself and live and all this other stuff. But we love the VISTA program. There's VISTA. I don't quite remember how many VISTAs that there are in the state of Wisconsin. For Habitat alone, I think there's 30,
Okay.
40 some VISTAs that are stationed around just Wisconsin alone. All out in different capacities, making a difference. We have a VISTA now. She does a lot of our marketing and communications work. So if you look us up on Facebook and you see our different posts, today's Thursday, so it'll be our Throwback Thursday, where we talk about some Habitat of past, and so you can follow us on there. Fox Valley Tech, is a great partnership there for internships. They have a great construction technologies program over at Fox Valley Tech. We've been very, very fortunate to receive some interns through the tech for the construction side, and then also we're looking at some of their grant writing program, and some of their others for the business and marketing, and then Oshkosh. I mean, of course, they're a big part of the community in
Sure.
in town.
Huge.
So the human services program there is incredible. I think we've had interns now for the last 4 or 5 semesters, all from the Human Services Department. I know the Restore has an intern from UWO through their supply chain management major, and he's helping us do a bunch of data analysis and all this. I don't know. I talked with him one day, and I'm like, "Okay, you're talking over my head, man." And I'm like, "You're an intern. You're already talking over my head." So, they are great partners of ours for helping us just expand our mission in the community. So.
Sure. Now, when you're doing a build, or maybe this even ties in with the Restore, Meg, where do you get the supplies from? Who are your suppliers? I'm sure that there are community partners who donate a lot of things, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. The Restore, there are times when the Restore receives large quantities of donations of materials, and we'll take a look at it from the construction side, and we'll be like, hey, what can we do to, strike a deal here? But a lot of our materials for supplies, they do come from, local suppliers in town, like Nofke or, just to our next door neighbors. We have Amro Building Supply out there, and Drexel Building Supply. So, but of course we're Habitat, so everyone's very gracious to us and is willing to give us price breaks.
Sure.
We have other subcontractors that'll donate labor. Say, hey, we'll donate the labor, just pay for the materials. So we're very fortunate to have just kind-hearted and giving people in our community. It's incredible.
Yeah, we do have a wonderful community of warm-hearted people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very generous, even in the toughest of times.
Mm-hmm.
They're willing to step forward and give until it hurts.
Yep.
As far as what some people are probably doing. I was just thinking about the Restore as you were talking about things that you get. Talk to us a little bit, Meg, about anybody can drop anything off at the Restore, right? If you're doing remodeling in your home.
We have a couple limitations, but mostly
Okay.
everything, yes.
Like, talk to us about what for example, if someone is replacing their countertops, you'll take the old countertops.
Yes.
And probably be able to use it somewhere, somehow.
Yes.
What are the limitations that you have? Things that you won't take or can't take?
We don't take paint. We
Okay.
don't take computer monitors. We don't take TVs. Those are fairly new things.
Okay.
But there are places that will take them, but there is a fee. What else? Mattresses.
And that's for health concerns mainly.
Sure, that makes sense.
Some like baby gates and high chairs, things like that could be unsafe.
Okay.
Window blinds, I don't think we take anymore.
Right.
So it's not just building materials.
Oh, no, you
no.
should see the housewares
Okay.
aisle.
Wow.
That's my favorite.
Okay. see now that I've just learned something, because I thought it was mostly just building materials and things like that. So that's good to know. Well, tell us about the Restore, since we're talking about it.
Well, I believe the Restore opened in 2010, is that correct? Or 2009?
2009.
2009. And it's where the old Ben Franklin used to be, if you're familiar with that. And what we do is we get donations from companies, from, I'd say more than anything is just the regular Joe remodeling, and they need to get rid of things, and we take them and resell them at a decent price, so they won't have to pay the same price they pay at a retail store. And then from the profit, that helps build houses. So there's quite a bit of things that we have in our store.
Okay. What is the, before I forget, what is the phone number for Habitat, and what is the phone number for the Restore?
Okay, so we're going to broadcast this because this gets confused all the time. So
Okay.
for Habitat in general, for if you want to come out and build, you want to learn about the programs, that's 235-3535.
Okay.
Whereas the Restore is 230-3535.
Okay.
So you can see they're just a few digits off.
Sure. Just one, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, because if someone misdials or whatever,
can
they're going to get
get
you.
you.
One
in
way or
one
another,
place or the other, probably.
One
So,
line's going to ring or the other one.
We're in
so-
the same building, so it's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, to reach Habitat for a build project or something along those lines, it would be 235-3535. And if you have a question for the Restore, they are at 230-3535. And of course, the area code for both is 920. And I'll try and remember to repeat that again before the end of the hour. What else do you have coming up? I know that you guys sent an email that you've got some kind of special project coming up.
You know, there's always special projects with Habitat.
And I don't have what it is, but there's a few future things here that are coming up, and one is a studathon, and I kind of chuckled about that a little bit because that could be taken a couple of different ways, and both could be interesting, I'm sure. But what is studathon in the ecumenical and habitat sense of the word?
Yeah, but we'll keep it rated G. How's that?
Yes, we'll keep it clean.
The Studathon is just a fun, creative way of getting involved in supporting Habitat. It's honestly, it's exactly what it says. It's a sponsorship of a 2x4 stud that an individual or a church or a faith community or a company, organization, town can sponsor. Take it back with them, let their customers, clientele, staff, their kids, whomever, decorate it as they see fit. And I always recommend put your logo on it. Make sure you get your logo on it. That's the
Yeah.
most important. And give it back to us, and we'll build it into a home.
Oh, that's a neat idea.
And so once the home's up and walls are standing, roof's on, it's for the most part weather tight. We'll invite you back out and come on out and see if you can find we'll have a stud finder party.
Sure.
And so everyone walks around and gets to find their 2x4 stud and where they built it in the home. And we ran it for this year. It was our first year running it. We had a good turnout. But, naturally, you always want to sell more.
Sure.
But I was happy with how it turned out. We do have one crazy stud that came in, and I don't know if I can bury it in a wall. It might get built in the basement, so the kids can enjoy it forever. It's called a very studly caterpillar, and it has caterpillar legs that are sticking off of it, and they're fuzzy.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
And so we're very excited. We're looking forward to running that again next year and making it an annual event. So
Okay. When does Studathon actually start?
That's this year we started it actually about the beginning of summer, and knowing that we wanted to build the studs into our last home of the year. So
Okay.
Next year we'll probably look at doing the same time frame, maybe late spring.
Okay, all right. Now, interfaith, that was one of the things that came to me, and I don't know what that is, but I'm sure you guys do.
Yeah, the interfaith, I know we touched on the interfaith walk and journey we had, and that was kind of our launching point into what the whole interfaith initiative is all about, and that's bringing the volunteers and supporters of, regardless of faith, under the common goal of saying, look, despite any differences or anything, we can come on common ground here at the Habitat Home, make a difference and change a family's life. And so in 2015, we're looking to starting now. We've been started since this last spring, but working towards a 100% home sponsorship on an interfaith build. So we're talking financial, but also volunteer. And the volunteer days aren't just going to be like, okay, the Lutherans are going to come out on Wednesday, and then Friday we're going to have the Catholics out. No, that's not the way this is going to work. We're going to put a Lutheran with a Catholic and a Muslim and a Jewish person.
Get them all together.
We're going to get them all together, and we're going to
a melting pot.
Exactly. And we're gonna build some awareness and some education factors into the build as well. So we're really looking forward to it. There's a lot of excitement around it. Kind of the next step in our interfaith program is the Interfaith Festival of Gratitude, which is coming up. It's the night before Thanksgiving. It's not a Habitat-sponsored event, but it is an interfaith-sponsored event that Habitat will be a part of.
All right.
And that's at the Grand Opera House the night before Thanksgiving.
Okay. Night before Thanksgiving. All right. And then you've got something called Giving Tuesday also, I believe, right?
Yeah.
What is that all about?
Giving Tuesday is something that is so new that not everyone knows about it yet. I learned about it last minute last year, and it was way too late for me to do anything about it. So I've been patiently waiting for a year so I get to start planning and doing it. So Giving Tuesday is it's a day of giving, and it could be through volunteer time, but also financially. And it's positioned the first Tuesday after Black Friday or after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So the ring of it goes, you have Giving Tuesday, or Black Friday, Giving Tuesday, or let's get that right.
Local Monday.
Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday. There we go.
Okay. All right.
And so the premise behind it is, we just went through this day of thanks, and then we all went out shopping and we took care of our friends and family and with gifts and everything. And so we wanted to, take that, make it full circle and say, now you've got your group and circle of friends taken care of. Let's help someone outside of your circle.
Sure.
And so it's a one-day campaign of giving. Last year, I think there was about 10,000 organizations that participated, and it's only going to grow. It's an all social media campaign where we ask individuals to take an unselfie. Selfies are very popular. And
Not with me.
We ask me neither, but just saying. But we asked people to take an unselfie and then to nominate the organization that they support and then make a donation in the name of that organization as well. So
Well, that's a really neat idea.
Yeah.
That really is. Now, I know that, you've sort of taken the lead at Habitat on a community-wide housing survey or housing study to determine where the needs are and who has the needs and that kind of thing. Can you guys talk a little bit about that?
yeah, that's a great. That's actually a little bit of a long story now too. So I'm going to make it short, but it's just not. I'm going to start off by saying it wasn't just Habitat taking the lead. It was we were in partnership with some of the folks over at Day by Day Warming Shelter, and the thought of this came out of a seminar that our community foundation put on this last February about how we can. Organizations that may have separate missions and separate goals, how we can still come together collaboratively for and better the community. So it's called Collective Impact, and so we proposed this grant to our community foundation and said, look, Oshkosh is a great community. There's a lot of organizations doing a lot of good, and we do it very, very well, but we still have needs and gaps and in our community. When you look hard enough, you can see them. And we said, so how can we take the gap from this big and at least make it this big? Or how can we make the path for someone who is homelessness and make their path easier to some form of housing, whether it's transitional or affordable. So that's what the planning grant's all about. We're just underway, and it's it's taken a little bit to get there, but all good things with due time, and we're really, really excited to be a part of that.
How long will the study go on, Jay?
I anticipate the study taking anywhere from 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
Because it's data and it's understanding the community and understanding what connections and paths are out there. So
Sure.
we do anticipate the study taking a while, but the results of what's coming out of the study, I do feel is going to be a great action plan, and only make the Oshkosh community better and greater.
Okay. We're down to about 15 minutes here, I see, and I want to touch on two really, I think, super important things before we wrap things up. I want to touch on how you decide who needs a home, who gets a home, that kind of thing. And I want to talk about the volunteers, what the requirements are, if there's an hour requirement in that kind of thing. So why don't we talk about, I guess, the natural order of things. Who gets a home?
Sure.
How if someone is in need, they want to buy a home, but they just can't do it in the traditional sense, like most of us do.
Yep.
How do they go about this? What do they do?
That's a great question. And that's what Habitat was formed for, was to serve families that can't afford housing otherwise. So, it all starts with an application. Mm-hmm. Really, it starts with, someone heard about Habitat. They have the dream of home ownership. I mean, has always been the great American dream, is home ownership, and I still believe that dream exists in many, many communities, and I think Oshkosh is the same. So we have families that said, we're in this unsafe home, we're in this 2-bedroom apartment, we can't, this is just crazy.
Yep.
And so how do we get a home? So they come in, they apply with us, they go through a qualification process. There's 3 big things that our families have to qualify in. First and foremost, it's income. We only service families that are in the income brackets of, when you look at our area median income, they have to fall between a certain income level.
And is that based on, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is that based on number of people in their family?
It is.
Okay.
It is altered based on the number of people in their family,
Okay.
and it's set by the government, by HUD.
Okay.
So we take a look at their income. We don't use credit score, but we do look at their credit history, because that income to debt ratio can't be so far out of whack that it just doesn't make sense for us. Their ability to pay is a big one. They have to have good job history, and be making enough income to pay us back, because at the end of everything, our homes are sold to our partner families. They receive a traditional mortgage just like anyone else. Mm-hmm. The big caveat is 0% interest for the life of the mortgage. That's what, and then utilizing a lot of volunteer labor keeps the cost of our mortgages low, so our families can afford them. When you look at the median rent for Winnebago County, most recent study I saw, the median rent in Winnebago County is $635. When I looked at what the median rent for all of our Habitat homeowner mortgages are, it's $537.
Okay.
So as a result of that 0% interest of volunteer labor, we get to keep them affordable. And then I know I touched on the ability to, willingness to partner earlier. That's our third piece of the puzzle. The family has to make that commitment to partner with us, because this is a partnership for 20 years. It's not a you get your home and we're done. It's a partnership for 20 years, because every mortgage payment they make is funding that goes back in to an account that we roll forward to help the next family. So this isn't we give you your home, goodbye, nice to meet you, see you. No, it's like, okay, we want to make sure that they're going to be the best partner families, because they're helping us to help the next family. So
Sure.
Yeah, those are the big 3 things. If they qualify in all 3, we go through the process of picking a floor plan and a lot, and then the fun stuff happens and we start building. So, and we call up the volunteers and away we go. So.
Okay. How long does the process normally take for something like that?
I've seen
And I
it.
suppose it can vary too.
It does vary. I've seen it go as fast as 3 months. I've seen it take as long as 8 to 12 months. you know, if someone comes in isn't quite ready, has to take care of maybe a couple of small debts that were out there or anything.
Right.
You know, so it can take some time, but you know, if the dream is there, they're going to go through with it. So
Okay, excellent.
I just wanted to add,
Sure.
if their debt isn't quite perfect, we do program with them. We have another agency we work with to help them get
Yeah.
their debt to where it should be, or you know, help them get everything paid up so their debt does look better.
Yeah.
So
Is that FISC?
it is FISC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can never remember what that
Yes.
acronym stands for. Financial,
Services, some financial information
Yeah.
services center or something
but they're
like
part
that.
of Goodwill
Yes, they are.
Industries.
And they are a great partner
they are.
for not only for Habitat, but just in general, the community in general. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they really are. You know, and that's something else, you know. We talked about the generosity of people in this community, even when it may hurt them to give of themselves or give of their resources. But, you know, we are very blessed also to have some tremendous agency organizations here.
Oh, big time.
And until you really start looking around at what we really have, and I've been fortunate to have learned it through 11 or 12 years of doing this show. You know, I've had so many good folks like you come on and talk about the things that they do. And I mean, of course, I've heard of Habitat, you know, before this.
But that's
I'm not
good.
That much, I'm not that much in the dark. But there are some organizations that I've had come on that I'd never heard of them before. So we really are very, very blessed. And all someone has to do is just kind of look around.
Yeah.
And, you know, if they have a need and they're maybe not sure where to start, maybe contact United Way, perhaps. That would be a good place, I think, to start.
That is a great place to
You
start.
know, and you guys are all kind of interconnected
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what one person can't find, I'm sure that you can send them to someplace
Yes.
else
Yeah.
where they can find it.
Absolutely.
When we're talking about volunteers, we've already talked about the fact that they don't need any building experience.
Right.
I'm sure that they don't need any cashiering experience or
Yep.
stocking experience. But does a volunteer, Meg, have to work a certain number of hours a week? Or tell us how this works.
Well, we would like people to do a minimum of 50 hours total, but it's not
In a month?
necessary. No, in their whole time volunteering.
Oh, well, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they want to do more, we'd love to have them do more. So we have two different shifts. Usually we have a 10 o'clock to 2 and then a 2 o'clock to 6 because our store is open from 10 to 6 on the weekdays.
Okay.
So those are kind of the shifts we like. But if you can work 11 to 3, we'll take you there.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter.
Or what if they
It's-
can only work 2 hours?
Great, we'll take you.
Okay. So no matter what you can do, no matter how much time you can give or how little,
Yeah.
call.
And and if you think you don't know enough about building materials, it doesn't matter because you sure learn on the job. I didn't know what many things were tools. And it's fun. It's like this old house where they say, "What's this?"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're all trying to figure out what it is, and
Yeah.
it's fun. It's really like a family environment there. Everybody's there to help each other. It's a great group of people. I can't say enough.
I have to say, Meg has done a fabulous job. Meg, she mentioned she did start as a volunteer, you know, just as a volunteer with us, and now she's been hired on as a part-time staff, and she is like a whirlwind in our pricing area. She said she didn't know what anything is, and now she's on the computer putting price stickers on
And
what
she's
the
on
items
TV
are,
now,
and she's
too.
on TV.
Look at
I mean,
that.
this
And she's only been there just a little under a month, I think you said,
Right.
right?
yeah,
So,
going
yeah.
right
she is
along.
climbing the ladder. No pun intended.
Right.
Yes.
But it is interesting. I started out as a cashier, then I did a donation associate, then I was pricing. So I got to know a little of everything, and I love that because you get a variety, you don't get bored, and they all kind of blend together.
Sure.
So I haven't driven the truck for donations, but I would if I had to.
That's coming now, right?
Yeah, right.
That'll be your new goal for the new year.
Yeah, I will bulk up for that.
To learn how to use that. In our remaining few minutes here, I just want to talk about a couple of things. And I think we've got some photos on this, but if we can't get them up on the screen in time, that's fine. UW Oshkosh Citizenship Day
Yeah.
with student volunteers. Tell us very briefly about that. That was at the Habitat store, right?
Yeah.
Was that before you started there?
It was just before I started.
Okay. Well, whoever wants to talk about that.
The Citizenship
And
Day
there
is
it
where
is.
the campus, the campus leaders and the different full-time staff come out they go out to the community and serve. A lot of the dorm advisors or residence hall advisors. I think community, I don't know, they've changed the name since I was in college now, but they're the ones that go out and, if they come to Habitat, then they're our direct advocate for the people that they're overseeing in their hall. So then they get to round the troops up from their hall and come back. So
Sure.
we've had Citizenship Day now 2 years in a row, and we're just very, very fortunate.
Okay.
And a lot of those students keep coming back.
Yes, they do.
And then there was one other thing also here that kind of got my eye. It was the Habitat Partnership Project with UW Oshkosh students again at Seeds for Community Change Urban Garden on Jefferson Street. And that's like in the, I'm trying to think now, isn't that like in the 600 block or the 700 block of Jefferson?
Yeah, absolutely. 600 block.
It's, okay.
Yep.
It's kind of
Right behind
not
the
quite
resale.
behind, not quite behind Burger King.
Yep.
But sort of in that general area, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And there they
Sure.
are.
Yeah. Well,
Let's see that one again. Let's see that one again. Of those fine students working there.
There they are.
Working in the community garden and so forth.
So now 2 years in a row now, believe it or not, the chapter is going to partner with that organization, and Habitat's involved. So a couple of springs ago, that organization approached Habitat and said, look, we have a need for 32 4-foot by 12-foot raised garden beds. Can you build them for us? And I said, sure. I was construction manager at the time. Yeah, we could take care of it. And so we loaded up with about 60-some college students, brought them out to the site, and in about 3.5 hours, we built 32 raised garden beds.
Wow.
And away we went. And so now this year, the college students are actually going back and they're doing some construction work in the community. So to protect them, they're all going to go out there and wrap all the beds in plastic. And so it's pretty cool. It's been a great partnership. And the community gardens, if you ever get a chance to drive by and when they're in full bloom, it's beautiful.
Okay. In our remaining moments, we've covered so many things here, and I think we've given viewers a tremendous lot to think about.
Yeah.
And I hope that someone out there, many of you out there, will take advantage of this tremendous opportunity to help out folks. But in closing, what do either of you, what's the takeaway message that you'd like to give folks about Habitat for Humanity Oshkosh and what you do?
Well, I'm just thinking, I remember when you said people give until it hurts, but when you give, it doesn't hurt anymore. You give of yourself, and that makes you feel so much better. So that's my takeaway from it. That's what I get from volunteering.
That's really good. That's
yeah,
very.
it doesn't hurt because you feel so much better. You're not sulking or feeling bad about yourself. You see people who need things worse than you. So that's my way of thinking it.
Thank you. Jay, what about you? I don't know if you can top that.
I get to relate just real similar to Meg and I have the same thing in common. We both started with Habitat as volunteers. And, when I was a volunteer, I was like, I was in between jobs. Do I really want to wake up and go swing hammers? And I'm like, or could I just sleep in? But you know what? I'm glad I really did, because at the end of the day, I got to meet the family. You get the dual joy of construction, where you get to see your progress and then know you're impacting a family's life. And it took me about a whole of 7.5 seconds, and I was hooked. And
right.
you get to make a difference, and that's what the takeaway is.
Excellent. Thank you both very much
Thank
for being
you.
here.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for us. I just want to remind you again, the phone numbers for Habitat, if you're interested in a build project, 920-235-3535, or the Habitat store is 920-230-3535. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you
It
for
was fun.
watching as always, and thanks to the crew. We will see you next time. Until then, take good care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.